In today's video, we're going to be diving into the upcoming pattern, taking a look at some relatively warm air moving into the central and eastern United States across the short and kind of into the medium range. There is reason to believe that there will be cold periods during this overall warmer time, and especially after this warmer time, we're looking at kind of like the 7th through 10th of February. We could switch back to some colder air, and both models at this point are trending towards snowfall for the Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast, not only during this time frame, the warm time frame, but also afterwards. Especially, we've seen a lot of these models showing some pretty massive snowstorms towards the tail end, so stay tuned for that. But during this warm-up, we will have pretty substantial storms moving through, especially compared to what we saw during the early January time frame and a lot of December, bringing about severe weather, snowfall, ice storms. The west is going to be more active. It's just an overall more action-packed pattern that we expect moving forward. So when we look here at the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook from the National Weather Service, this is for February 4th through 8th. We do see warmer conditions over the four corner states, south central, and into a lot of the southeast and mid-Atlantic states here. So you can kind of get the sense that we get this warm air moving up the east coast here, and we have cold air diving down the west, and not only that, moving in towards the northern plains and Midwest there. As we take a look at the precipitation, again, activity on the rise, we do see the majority of the nation in the above average category here as far as precipitation is concerned, especially areas across the west out here. So the Rockies, Sierra Nevada, and Cascades can expect a lot of snowfall. And then also a pretty decent pocket of parts of the Midwest, Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast here, seeing above average precipitation. So if any of this lines up with the colder times within this warm period, we will see some snow threats in these pockets at times. 8 to 14 day outlook. This is the 6th through the 12th, and we do still see a lot of this warmth over the four corner states, south central, and up and down the east coast here. But this cold is beginning to move more towards the east, and we have seen models trend colder for this particular time frame. Even the southwest a little bit cooler here as well. You can imagine that this will be a pretty decent period for potential snowfall, especially across the plains and Midwest and Great Lakes, maybe even the lower Midwest here. Areas in there could have a decent shot at plenty of snowfall here coming up. Precipitation kind of aligns with that 6 to 10 day outlook, where we have the west above average and also a lot of the Midwest, kind of Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, Northeast. So a lot of this reaching the eastern seaboard quite a bit now as well, as activity is overall just going to be more prevalent. When we look at the past 30 days, I just went ahead and did it early. So this is the last day of December, and then every single day of January so far. We can see lighter blues for, I would say, 90% of the nation here, and then darker blues for a lot of the Rockies and Plains, and then a lot of the Mid-Atlantic, Ohio Valley, and Southeast here dealing with particularly cold temperatures. We're talking 5 to 10 degrees below normal on a full month time frame. That is very far in the extreme category. Typically, when you're looking at a below average or above average month, you're looking at departures that are between 1 and 3 degrees of normal. So when you see 5, 7, 10 degrees further away from normal, that is on the extreme end of the spectrum for a 30-day period. So very, very impressive cold is what we've seen over the last 30 days. Let's just go ahead and move into the European model, and we get this first batch of kind of rising thunderstorms throughout Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, and Louisiana. I've been talking about this for a while now, and we have seen it start to play out here. Overall, the jet stream does not look like we're super warm in the east yet. It is going to get warmer than this, but we are in a little bit of a colder time here for a lot of the kind of Great Lakes, Mid-Atlantic, Northeast here. We're still quite cool, and we even see snow showers across the Great Lakes, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast here, pretty prevalent. So let's take a look at what happens as we move towards tomorrow afternoon on Thursday, and that's going to be January 30th. We do see some thunderstorms and severe weather taking place, especially underneath this low, so areas like Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and Louisiana here in particular. We could deal with more showery activity nearby that low, and for areas out to the east of it, which is where that warm front is located. So it's this dragging cold front where we're watching for the best chance of thunderstorms and severe weather. By the time we move in towards Friday, we see that this storm shifts towards the northeast. It's over Ohio at this point. Still, we have a dragging cold front. warm front out to the east here. So we would be watching for potential thunderstorms and severe weather now in this pocket here, with more sustained snowfall or even mixed precipitation there for some of the northeast along the areas horizontal with that low pressure system. Meanwhile, we see a pretty impactful system moving into western Canada, bringing rainfall and snowfall here to the Pacific Northwest, and that is likely pretty heavy precipitation as well by Friday the 31st. As we move towards Saturday on February 1st, we see colder air overall around for the northern states as a whole. We see a lot of snowfall happening for the northern Rockies and Cascades there, and we have a low here moving across areas of western Canada, and this does extend some snow showers perhaps into the upper Midwest or northern plains. Can't really rule that out for the day on Saturday. Sunday on the 2nd of February here, this is the look, and we still have heavy precipitation across that northwest territory of the United States, and we also see quite a bit of precipitation along a weaker low moving through the Great Lakes. Both of these bringing plenty of snowfall and also areas of rainfall. I want to take us another step forward towards Monday on February 3rd, and we do see some snowfall for New England behind a now stronger low than it once was. Weaker low near the kind of northern Rockies there, and we do see plenty of snowfall for the Cascades, Rockies, and even the northern plains and upper Midwest here as a result of that low. Tuesday on the 4th here, a lot of the same for this storm here, except we've seen it dip down more for the northern Sierra Nevada mountains. But we do get these first little bits of thunderstorms starting up for Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana there. And this is likely going to develop a low as it moves northward. So expect that by Wednesday we'll see a low here. So let's take a look at what happens. We see it kind of coming together there. The low is a little bit further off to the west, but we do have this stretching warm front here, bringing some rainfall and mixed precipitation depending on where you're at. There is this kind of flow from the south and from the Gulf more in particular, and that's bringing humidity and warmth, and also quite a few thunderstorms in this pocket here. Continued snow and rainfall out west here. Let's take it towards Thursday, and now we're starting to organize this low over the Midwest here. So we see between Illinois and Indiana a low forming. Strong warm front out to the east, bringing again a mixed bag of precipitation, some snowfall, some ice, some rainfall to the south. And it does have a cold front, although we're not seeing quite as much precipitation underneath this low here. So maybe some isolated thunderstorms in there. We might trend a little stormier with that, but as of now, that's not the most major cold front I've ever seen. We do see some pretty decent snowfall for the Dakotas, Nebraska, Minnesota here as well by Thursday the 6th. So definitely worth noting that we might be having an upper Midwest snowfall event here. And by the time we reach Friday on the 7th, this develops into a 993 massive low pressure system over eastern Canada. Could be a heavy snowfall event up there, and also a pretty decent one for the Great Lakes and Northeast as well. Continued snowfall for the west, so that's going to be a common trend here. Saturday the 8th, we get a low moving actually in from the west. It's kind of dipped down here into Colorado. We get the rising kind of thunderstorms here out of the Gulf here for the southern plains and parts of the Midwest. And a lot of snowfall to the north and west of that low as well. I want to see how this progresses over the coming hours, because I suspect it's going to get a little bit more intense here. And sure enough, by Sunday, it's moving quickly, but we see it to the north of the Great Lakes in Canada, dragging cold front, warm front out to the east, and we end up with some snowfall for New England and Canada there, and pretty decent thunderstorms perhaps for parts of the Ohio Valley and Mid-Atlantic there in particular, also the southern plains, parts of the Midwest, Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic there. Definitely watching for thunderstorm activity. And again, we're seeing multiple thunderstorm events here on this model run, and for the past few days, we've also seen that. So pretty telling. By Monday, most of it has moved out. We do see the Gulf and Southeast coast does have some leftover thunderstorms and showers around. And we do see an overall cooling trend here for the east, right around the 10th too. This jet stream has dipped down over most of the United States, and we're seeing much colder conditions than we were seeing in the first 10 days of February. By Tuesday the 11th, this starts to develop some sort of low pressure system here over Oklahoma. Snowfall for some of the plains and Midwest. The very far southern plains like Texas and Oklahoma seeing mostly thunderstorms and rainfall. Let's see how this progresses. We're going to move this towards Wednesday, and this is when things get interesting. Parts of the Ohio Valley get really heavy snowfall from this one into the Mid-Atlantic as well. So we see Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, northern Kentucky, parts of West Virginia. Heavy snowfall. And we've seen this storm on this model run, or on this model, for a few runs in a row, I think since yesterday. So definitely worth noting. But we are very far out here, so take it with a grain of salt. But I think it's more telling of the amount of cold that we're going to see during this time frame and potential snowstorms. Maybe not this specific date or time, but it is sufficient for these types of systems, and that's definitely worth noting. Thunderstorms, pretty prevalent around the Gulf states and deep South states underneath that low. By Wednesday, we see the mid-Atlantic getting heavily impacted, starting with Northern Virginia into DC, Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. We even see southern New England starts to get hammered by this one as well, and it eventually moves out. And this is the end of the model run, but we're left with a not so warm pattern really anywhere. We see snowfall really going wild across the mountainous west, the plains here. We also see pretty cold temperatures with some leftover snow here across some of these eastern areas. So pretty wintry considering how warm everybody's been talking about how February is going to be. I think that there is opportunity for sure. GFS model here, let's see what we get. Obviously, thunderstorm event number 1 with a borderline pretty substantial snowfall event for the Great Lakes and Northeast. This is definitely much more impactful than the European model showed, so we'll watch this closely. Could be a pretty far northeast snowfall event, but we'll see which model is correct. The storminess out west begins here for the final day of January into the 1st of January, or February better yet. Snowfall prevailing throughout the north. We get some thunderstorms here going across the south central states. And here we go, the 6th of February, a little sooner than the European model. We do get some very broad low pressure around for these areas, and we end up with some snowfall for the mid-Atlantic and parts of the northeast, some thunderstorms underneath. Similar storm, but different timing than the European model. We actually end up with another one of these coming through. First off, we end up with this kind of cold front that could lead to thunderstorms around the 10th. So we see this warm and humid air out ahead of this cold front, really dry and cold air trying to push through. That's what leads to our instability, and that's why we have this pocket of thunderstorms in here across the Ohio Valley and parts of the Northeast. Definitely worth noting there could be some showers or even thunderstorms with this one. And then we end up with a mid-Atlantic system again by Wednesday the 12th. We end up seeing Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, Maryland, D.C., southern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, all kind of seeing some form of wintry weather here, even mostly snowfall. And that one kind of comes to an end. Not the most major snowstorm in the world, but could be something that would be like 2 to 4 inches, maybe a little bit more, if something like that was to play out. But keep in mind, it's very far out. We end up with a third snow system here where we get some snowfall going for the mid-Atlantic and Northeast once more, as well as eastern Canada by the 14th. So it's very far out, too far out to discuss specifics. But when you see 3 or 4 snow systems for these areas in a single model run, that definitely kind of is pointing out that this type of pattern is going to be very possible here moving forward. Let's take a look here at the total precipitation from our European model, and we do see plenty for the Northwest, kind of the Central West as well. We do see a lot of precipitation rising up from the Gulf here and moving across these areas also, so that's going to be another pretty substantial storm track over the next 2 weeks. So when we look at the anomalies, we see above average precipitation in a lot of these areas compared to what's normal for this time of year. Really good news for the areas that have needed it. I know the West has, and some of these pockets also could use some precipitation as it's been a overall drier, I would say 6 months for a lot of these areas. So pretty beneficial rainfall and even snowfall at times. Talking about snowfall, here is your European model's snowfall forecast, and we do see plenty of snowfall out west, feet and feet for all 3 major mountain ranges out there. We do see that the northern states like eastern Montana into the Great Lakes, up northern plains, upper Midwest, Great Lakes, again, eastern Montana, we are seeing 1 to 2 feet in these areas, so multiple moderate snowstorms moving through, really tallying up and leading to high snowfall totals. We also see that this swath of the Midwest, Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast ends up getting quite a bit as well throughout that European model run. The GFS model is a little bit less in certain areas, like in here, obviously, we're seeing a lack of snowfall. The Mid-Atlantic and Northeast, we do still end up with quite a bit of snowfall, a little bit less for the Mid-Atlantic, probably a similar amount here for the northeast. And the west is looking quite snowy, just like the European model as well. The temperature pattern is going to be kind of hard to break down, but we're warmer right now for a lot of areas in the east, colder out west. By Thursday, we see a backdoor cold front, which basically just means it's not coming from the west. It's actually moving straight down from the north. So we see this colder air spreading across the east coast for tomorrow on Thursday. West is still relatively cold, though. Most of the warmth bottled up for the central states. As we keep going towards Friday, we warmed back up in the east, though, as a lot of that warmer air has spread eastward. Still, the coldest area is going to be that southwest corridor. Saturday, quite warm, with the northeast kind of seeing a pretty substantial cool down here for Saturday the 1st. And for the 2nd on Sunday, we see a lot of that moving down into the mid-Atlantic as well, before we warm up again on Monday in a pretty major way. Tuesday is also quite warm for most areas. Wednesday the 5th, quite warm. Thursday the 6th, even warmer. Friday the 7th, the East Coast is really, really warm compared to normal. And then we get a quick little cold blast here for Saturday the 8th, Sunday the 9th, and then it's back to the warmth here for Sunday the 9th into the 10th here on Monday before we cool back down again for Tuesday the 11th, Wednesday the 12th, and Thursday the 13th here. So we see this area cool down right after the 10th. So again, a potential pattern change. But still, you could tell that even in the warm pattern, we are having cold days in there, and that's kind of what I've been referring to throughout the video. GFS model, we're going to see a lot less of that cold later on, so let's just walk through it. Again, warm, cold, warm, cold, warm, cold, and then we're cold here from about the 6th, 7th, 8th, and then we warm back up again for the 9th, 10th, 11th. We get some colder air, especially the further north you are. And then we warm back up right around the 13th, 14th once more. So it is a very back and forth pattern on both models. A little bit different at times, especially the later into this you go. But for the most part, still going to be opportunities both for warmer, nice days for those of you that want that. And then also for those of you that want snowfall, it's not going to be nearly as hard as it seems like in this warmer pattern to get some snowfall in certain areas. So we're going to be tracking it very closely as we always do. We upload every single day. So be sure to subscribe. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.